In the center of London stands a simple black door marked with the number 10. To the world, it's the address of Britain's Prime Minister, 10 Downing Street. But beyond the politics, power, and press conferences lies something far more chilling. For nearly 300 years, this house has been a stage not just for world-changing decisions, but also for unexplainable events. Whispers in empty rooms, cold hands brushing against staff in the dead of night, screams from the walls, and even ghostly figures appearing during meetings. Is number 10 just an old house creaking with age? Or is it home to something darker? In this video, we'll uncover the terrifying and haunted history of 10 Downing Street. From cursed doorways to the lady in gray, to spine-chilling encounters by prime ministers and staff, we'll explore the ghost stories that may keep you awake at night. Turn the lights down, open your mind, and prepare to enter the shadows of the most powerful and possibly most haunted address in Britain. Though it's now a modern seat of government, 10 Downing Street has deeply haunted foundations. The building wasn't always one house. It's actually 3 17th-century homes stitched together, and one of them, locals say, was cursed from the beginning. Before the houses were built, the land was part of a swampy marsh once used as a burial site for plague victims in the 1600s. While there's no official plaque or record near number 10 today, maps from the era suggest that mass graves were located just behind where the current garden sits. In the 1680s, Sir George Downing constructed homes on the land. Though wealthy, Downing was despised, even by his own staff. He was known to treat his workers like prisoners, locking them inside until they completed his projects. Several of them died under mysterious circumstances. Builders whispered that the land was cursed, that no home built here would rest peacefully. When the houses were joined and gifted to the Prime Minister in 1732, it became number 10. But as you'll soon hear, the hauntings may have already begun. This terrifying story comes from the 1800s. It involves a staircase, a mysterious blood stain, and a death never explained. One night in 1812, a maid named Eliza was working late. Her job was to light the hallway lamps and prepare rooms for the next morning. Around midnight, other staff heard a sharp scream echo through the upper floors. They rushed to the staircase and found Eliza lying at the bottom, neck twisted, eyes wide open in terror. There was no sign of a struggle. Just one strange detail, a small trail of blood on the carpeted stairs leading up, but not down. Even stranger, the blood stain remained after several attempts to clean it. Over the years, it faded but never fully disappeared. Later, other staff claimed to see a shadowy figure at the top of the staircase at night, watching silently. Modern historians say she may have tripped, but those who work in the building at night, especially security guards, still avoid the staircase after dark. Perhaps the most terrifying and repeated ghostly sighting in number 10 is the lady in gray. She appears late at night, usually near the upper bedrooms. Her face is pale, her dress long and Victorian, and her movements eerily silent. In 1973, a junior staff member named Mark Turner claimed to see her while delivering papers. He entered the hall and saw a woman standing still by a window. Assuming she was another staff member, he nodded, and she floated backward into the wall. He ran and refused to return to the floor alone again. In 2002, during Tony Blair's term, a cleaner claimed she felt icy fingers on her shoulder while mopping. When she turned, no one was there. Then she saw a reflection in the hallway mirror, a woman in gray. But when she spun around, the hallway was empty. The lady in gray is believed to be the spirit of a woman who lived in one of the original houses. Some say she was trapped in a loveless marriage. Others claim she took her own life. One rumor says she lost a child in a fire. No one knows for sure, but she always appears with a look of unbearable sadness. This terrifying story was told by a construction worker during renovations in the 1960s. His name was Harold Evans, and he was hired to inspect old walls during a quiet weekend. While knocking on one wall near the Prime Minister's private library, Harold heard something hollow. He pulled back the wallpaper and found a bricked-up doorway. Thinking it was nothing, he started removing bricks. That's when he heard scratching. Not rats, not wind. Fingernail-like scratching. Then came a low moan, like someone in pain, from the inside of the wall. Terrified, he stopped work and called security. But when they returned hours later, the scratching had stopped, and the wall was sealed again overnight without explanation. To this day, the room has a reputation for cold air, even in summer. Some say the man in the wall was a prisoner hidden during one of Britain's many uprisings. Others believe he was bricked up alive during the early days of Downing's cruel rule. In 1995, a political aide named Rachel Wills experienced what she called a missing hour. She went into a side room near the cabinet office to grab documents. The door shut behind her. She remembers checking her watch. It was 2:30 p.m. Then the room went strangely quiet. The ticking of the clock stopped. The light flickered. Then, nothing. Moments later, she opened the door. The hallway was quiet. She walked back to her desk and was shocked to find it was nearly 4 p.m. She hadn't fallen asleep. She had no memory of the missing 90 minutes. Medical checks showed nothing unusual, but the fear in her voice when she told coworkers made them believe something truly strange had happened. Other staff later admitted they'd had time slips too, losing seconds, minutes, even hours, always in that same hallway. There's a room on the 3rd floor of number 10 that no longer has a name. It was once used for quiet meetings or reading. Today, it's locked and left unused. Why? Because of what staff call the screaming. Over the years, several workers have reported hearing a woman screaming in agony from inside the room, even when it's empty. In 1988, 2 cleaners fled the floor after hearing what they described as a death cry. When they unlocked the room, it was cold, freezing cold, and silent. A window had frost on it. But it was summer. One staff member who stayed late reported hearing sobbing and scratching on the door. When he opened it, he found the room empty, but the mirror was fogged up, as if someone had been breathing heavily inside. No one knows what happened there. Some say the room was where a servant once tried to take her life. Others believe it holds something older, perhaps an echo from the building's buried past. Another terrifying presence is known as the burned man. In the 1940s, after a bombing raid, firefighters cleared out parts of number 10's basement. That's when some claimed to see a shadowy figure with a melted face pacing slowly near the boiler room. Since then, at least 6 security guards and staff have reported seeing this figure, always appearing in the basement, always in total silence. One maintenance worker claimed he was walking down the stairs when he saw a man with half his face gone, glaring at him from the bottom step. The man said nothing, just stared, burned, smoking. Then he vanished. Some believe it's the ghost of a man who died during the Blitz. Others say he is something older, darker, something trapped below. Though few prime ministers openly talk about ghosts, stories have slipped out. A former staffer under David Cameron claimed he once joked that the lady in gray showed up again last night. Though said in a light tone, the staffer noted that Cameron refused to stay alone in the upstairs bedroom during his early months at number 10. Another source from the Theresa May years said she refused to work late alone and always asked a secretary to wait in the hallway if she stayed past 10 p.m. Even Tony Blair once admitted in a late-night interview that the building does have a presence. You feel it most at 3 a.m. So why would number 10 be haunted? Some believe it's simply old, that centuries of life, death, and decisions leave behind energy, especially when tied to war, stress, and betrayal. Others point to the land itself, once part of burial grounds, and later the site of buildings where people were mistreated, trapped, or even killed. Paranormal investigators who've examined buildings nearby report high electromagnetic readings, temperature drops, and strange anomalies in photos taken near number 10, especially around its lesser-used rooms. One chilling tale involves a typewriter in an old disused office that reportedly typed on its own late at night. Security once found a typed message reading, "Help me," yet the room was locked and empty. The typewriter had no paper loaded just minutes earlier. In 1982, A young assistant claimed to hear a baby crying from a cupboard near the main meeting room. Upon opening it, she found nothing inside but an icy draft and an old rattle that hadn't been seen before. The crying has been reported several times since. During the 1970s, a night porter reported seeing a man in outdated military uniform walking through the main corridor. When followed, the man disappeared through a closed door. The porter later identified the uniform as that of a soldier from the Crimean War. In 2009, a journalist staying late to cover an event saw a ghostly face staring at her through the window of a closed, locked office. She ran outside, but there was no one in the room. Later, the same face appeared in a photograph taken by another reporter. An electrician working in the cellar once described seeing a child's hand reach out from behind a crate. When he moved it, nothing was there. But faint giggling could be heard echoing through the dark, even though he was alone. The sound grew louder the longer he stayed. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, 10 Downing Street is more than just a political landmark. It's a living, breathing piece of history. And maybe death too. 10 Downing Street stands as a symbol of leadership, control, and order. But when the cameras turn off and the halls fall silent, something else may take control. Whispers, footsteps, screams, faces in the dark. There is a room on the 3rd floor now locked and unused due to the screams heard from within. Cleaners once heard a woman cry out in agony, but the room was empty and unnaturally cold. A mirror inside the room was fogged, as if someone had been breathing heavily moments before. A cleaner once fainted after hearing loud footsteps rush at her from behind, only to turn and see no one. When she regained consciousness, she found deep scratch marks on the floor that hadn't been there earlier. They appeared to form the word, "run." In 1947, a minister's assistant reported seeing a black mass float above the fireplace during a late-night briefing. The flames went out instantly, and the temperature dropped sharply. No one else saw it, but the assistant never returned to that room again. A delivery man once brought packages into the lobby and noticed a small boy sitting on the staircase. He smiled and waved, but when the man turned to ask a staff member about the child, the boy was gone. Staff said no children had been in the building that day. A ghost dog is said to haunt the hall outside the cabinet room. Staff have heard low growls and the sound of paws clicking across the floor. Some believe it's the spirit of a pet that died during the Victorian era, eternally guarding the halls. At 3:13 a.m. on several occasions, the lights in the east wing flicker violently for exactly 1 minute. Multiple electricians have tried to diagnose the problem, but no fault can be found. Staff call it the cursed minute. A visiting ambassador once ran out of the guest room in the middle of the night, claiming he saw a pale, cloaked figure at the foot of his bed. The room was searched, but no one was found. He refused to sleep there again, and his country's future visits were moved to a nearby hotel. A staff member locking up for the night heard muffled sobbing in the dining room. She entered and found the room empty except for a single chair that had been turned to face the wall. It hadn't been that way earlier in the evening. A spectral woman with long, dripping wet hair has been seen walking through the kitchen during heavy rains. Her footprints leave no water, and she vanishes when approached. Legend says she drowned in the Thames and wandered into Downing Street before her death. A retired butler spoke of doors slamming shut every night for weeks. He said they always shut at 11:11 p.m., without fail. One night, he stayed to watch and felt an invisible force push him back just before the doors slammed again. The portrait of a long-deceased statesman is said to shift positions overnight. One night, a cleaner found it upside down, though no one had touched it. The camera footage from that hallway mysteriously corrupted at the moment the shift occurred. A former prime minister once reported seeing a glowing orb floating above his desk during a moment of intense stress. It hovered for a few seconds before vanishing through the wall. He never spoke of it publicly, but shared the tale in private with close friends. Every Christmas Eve, the staff hear the sound of an old music box playing a melody no one recognizes. The tune comes from the locked archive room, where no music boxes have ever been stored. It stops the moment someone turns the key to enter. A temporary secretary once walked into the staff kitchen and found it filled with fog. The windows were shut tight, and the room was freezing. She heard her name whispered from behind the fridge, but when she checked, it was empty. The grand staircase creaks heavily at 4:07 a.m. every morning, even when no one is present. Maintenance crews confirm the steps move as if underweight, though motion sensors detect nothing. Some say it's the same step the maid Eliza died on. A phantom bell rings once every month at midnight in the Prime Minister's private quarters. No bell system is wired to that part of the building, but the ring has been heard by at least 3 different PMs in the past decade. One night, an aide swore she saw dozens of flickering candles lighting the hallway leading to the study. As she blinked, the lights vanished and the hall returned to normal. No power outage or candles were ever accounted for. In the garden behind number 10, a gardener once unearthed a small child's shoe beside a weathered, cracked gravestone fragment. That night, he dreamed of a little girl crying by the rosebush. He never returned to work afterward. An upstairs wardrobe once began shaking violently during a storm. Staff tried to open it, but it was jammed. When it finally gave way, a gust of freezing air spilled out, and all the clothes inside were covered in thick frost. Whether it's the tortured lady in gray, the burned man below, or the screaming room no one dares enter, this house holds more than just politics. It holds secrets from the other side. So next time you see the Prime Minister step outside that iconic black door, remember, he may be leading the country by day, but by night, he might not be alone. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Do you believe number 10 is haunted? What would you do if you spent a night there?